Welcome to Orange County Power Players, where we spotlight the personal, professional, and financial success stories of OC's top leaders. Here's your host, Danny Flores.
Welcome back to OC Power Players, where I interview some of the most successful people in Orange County. I'm Danny Flores, your host, and today's honored guest is Rochelle Trindade, zooming in from Aliso Viejo. Rochelle, CMO's Chief Marketing Officer at Flavor Cloud, leads the marketing and design side of the business. With 15 plus years in the logistics industry and 20 plus years across marketing, product management, customer success, and field operations, Rochelle's extensive go-to-market and marketing management experience has driven dynamic growth for multiple organizations. Having supported 2 IPOs and integrated numerous companies through mergers and acquisitions, Rochelle leads high-growth organizations to even greater revenue growth. Prior to Flavor Cloud, Rochelle served as a CMO at Extensive, formerly 3PL Central, the Global VP and Marketing at Teltranac, Navman, part of Vontier, and Vice President of Marketing at HireRight. Welcome, Rochelle.
Thanks so much, Danny. Excited to be here.
Yes, it's exciting having you here. How did you tell us the beginning, your career path, how you ended up in this position and even participating through the IPOs? That must have been a super exciting moment too.
Absolutely. I've always been really excited by some of these smaller, fast-growing organizations. So when I started my career, I don't want to go too far back, but initially when I started my career, I was working for a large public company that actually spun off another company. And when I was at PFS Web, I joined very early on, was able to go through the IPO process with them. And it was a really exciting opportunity. I'll say that initially, I was doing account management for them, working with some of their largest accounts. But as we were getting ready to go public, they said, oh, we really need someone who can help us with PR and do some of the communications. And I've always been one who's up for a challenge. So I said, sure, why don't I try to do that? And so I was able to work with them on the PR side of things and working really closely with our CEO and CFO for a lot of the public communications out there. And so that was a really exciting opportunity. I was there for about 7 years, and then I moved from Texas to California, and that's what landed me at HireRight. And HireRight was a local company, like headquartered here in California for many, many years. I spent 11 years there and kind of grew through all sorts of positions, from product marketing to director of sales operations, and then ultimately into the marketing role. I had the opportunity to be there during the IPO process for HireRight as well, which was incredible. And at the time, still growing my career, but was able to help with things like adding feedback and, writing some description portions of the competitive landscape for the S1. So really exciting stuff as you're growing your career and getting to be part of that. So, and then got to see this amazing prolific growth with HireRight. So from there, moved on to a few other opportunities. I won't go through it all, but had a lot of fun working at Teletrac Navman, which was fleet tracking, GPS tracking, managing an entire global team, learning really about everything from a transportation management and logistics software standpoint. Most recently at Extensive, where we did warehouse management platforms, really growing that organization. We were able to almost 3x our annual recurring revenue within a 4-year period of time. So saw some amazing growth there. And now here at Flavor Cloud, where I'm the CMO and have been here for an exciting time. We help companies calculate duties, tariffs, and taxes on their global shipments commitments. And so from that standpoint, this year, 2025 has been a really exciting time with so much changing from a regulatory standpoint. So it's been a fun opportunity. I've gotten to work in some incredible businesses and learn a lot of different things along the way.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. That great growth story. My first question goes to, you mentioned that they asked you if you wanted to do, and this is like early on, and it seems like your whole career path has kind of been the same. You know what? We need this. Can you do this? And you say, yeah, I'm up for a challenge. So the
Yeah.
question is, it's maybe something that you didn't learn in college. It may be something that you haven't been trained for. Do they train you, or do you just assume the seat and kind of figure it out and make it a success?
So for me, I've always been one where, I've been in some of these companies, and as I mentioned, they're smaller, but then fast growing. And so a lot of times you jump into the seat and you learn what you can. There's not usually a formal training program for a lot of these
Hmm.
things, but you do what you can, you do the research, you network with people that you know who do similar things so you can learn some of the best practices. When you have the opportunity, join organizations that can help you learn more about the roles that you're in or the roles that you're stepping into. But honestly, it's best from looking at the people who do it the best, networking with them, asking, for their advice, their
Right,
opinions,
right,
and then you kind of figure it out along the way. I think the most important thing is not to be afraid of jumping into something new and being up for the challenge. And
right,
it's okay to make mistakes every once in a while as long as you learn from it and
right.
you just build on that learning.
Yeah, that's amazing because that could be, when you're growing as a person in your career and your profession, it's really uncomfortable, right? So you have to get used to being uncomfortable and just treading in new waters and just kind of figuring it out. That's how you get the higher position, or that's how you grow in life, or whether you're growing the business, that's how you grow the business.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
Now going through the IPOs, that must have been like super interesting because now you're opening up everything to the public, right? So
Mhm.
you're opening up to scrutiny, and so you have to uh, do everything right. And sometimes the question is, what does right mean? How are we going
Mhm.
to look good? Because now your performance matters. It's being
Mhm.
watched, and because you want to do the IPO and be successful, have the stock price go up, and
Mhm.
then as you continue that, now you have your earnings reports. You gotta meet those quotas. You gotta forecast, and you gotta deliver. Basically, that must be some not scary growth times, nervous. Like you just have to step up to the challenge. Tell us how that made you feel.
Sure. And I'll say I was in more internal facing positions while I helped with things like external communication and things like that. I was really, during some of those times helping us build out what the quotas and the forecasts were going to be and helping the sales organization scale. And so I
Mhm.
think, it's always something that's on the back of your mind to have both stretch goals but also realistic goals and to have plans for things that you want to make sure that the team can achieve and to understand if there are potential gaps in achieving a goal, what are the different things that you can do to kind of close that gap, because it is important to be predictable and reliable in those
Mhm.
situations, but you also have to continue to stretch.
Right, right. That's the tricky part, right? And then if you have a change in the economy, and all of a sudden your projections were based on, certain economic indicators, and then that changes, it's like, oh, what are we
Yeah.
going to do? How are we going to scramble? We got earnings
Mhm.
reports to put out. Are we still going to be able to meet our forecast?
Mhm. Yeah, it's really interesting, and I'll say, I've been in a couple different public organizations. My most recent two organizations, including the current one, are private, and so both public and private also have Challenges in that you are always looking at what's happening across the economy. You're always looking at that changes and you're trying to calibrate what the organization can do, where there's opportunity, where there's growth, and how to factor in the changing economic dynamics in that process.
Do you bring some of your public skills into the private and try to execute at the private level?
So yes and no. I mean, I think that there are always things that you transfer from every experience that you have to a new experience. I think one of the things that makes me really good at scaling some of the smaller organizations is having some of that experience, some of that structure. Um,
Hmm.
for example, when I was at Teletrack Navman, at the time it was owned by Fortive. Fortive spun off Vontier,
Hmm.
but they had a whole process called the Fortive Business Systems, where they teach you different things about communication, different leadership styles, different problem solving processes, and things like that. And being able
Hmm.
to take that from that large public company and take a lot of those learnings to some of the smaller companies helps you build scalable and repeatable processes. So for the organizations that are trying to go from 20 million to 50 million, having that understanding of processes is incredibly important.
So is it kind of safe to say that you kind of come into a company, you implement these processes, and that helps you scale. Now you leave that company and you go to a smaller one again, and can you implement the same playbook and expect the same results where you kind of keep doing that and scaling companies?
So what I'll say is every company is really, really different. And so you can certainly take a lot of things and transfer those ideas
Mhm.
and those concepts. In marketing, for instance, knowing about search engine optimization or, understanding generative search optimization and those sort of things, there are certain knowledge bases that you need to have to bring someplace else, but how each company achieves that is always different. Now, what I
Mhm.
will say is there are going to be some things that are standard, like the marketing automation process. Which tools do you use? How do you, whether I use HubSpot or whether I use Salesforce, how do I integrate the systems? How do I build some of the repeatable processes in those? I think definitely from a systems standpoint, there are
Mhm.
playbooks that you can take and move over. But I would say a lot of the other marketing channels are maybe a little more nuanced. So you use your basis of knowledge and then you
Right.
experiment at every organization that you go to see
Yeah.
what's going to work right. Like I'm using the basis of my
Right. Right.
information, but I think a lot of it I've always loved to experiment all throughout my career and test new things. You test what works with the buyers and the market that you have.
Right. No, 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 that makes sense. That makes sense. It's like driving a car, right? You use kind of like the same basic skills for driving a car, but you get into a different one, then you might have different
Mhm.
controls. Um,
Exactly.
now in the beginning, you mentioned that you have some news, right? You're making some changes. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, thank you. So, I have had an incredible ride at Flavor Cloud. It has been incredible watching this company grow and drive innovation and release tons of great products. I just happened to be approached by another really interesting company that's in a similar industry that I used to work in, called Zonar. So I'm going to be moving over to a company called Zonar to be the CMO there starting in December.
So now, will you be growing that company at the same time? Is that your goal? Because that's what it seems you're amazing at, right? Growing these companies.
Yes, I really hope that I can take the knowledge that I've built and help Zonar to grow as well. They are in the fleet management, fleet tracking space. They do things like they actually do tracking for 70% of the United States school bus systems, and so they can
Mhm.
tell you, where your child is on the bus, if your child actually made the bus, if the bus is running late, those sort of things. So you know when to actually walk out to the bus stop to pick up your kid. There's some really interesting applications beyond just school buses. There are some really interesting applications as it relates to a number of other vehicle types, but it's a super interesting business. So I'm really hopeful that I'll have a chance to have another one of these dynamic growth stories as well.
That is awesome. Now, before we go, I have to mention this because it's here. Everybody's using it. Everybody's talking about it. Tell us a little bit about AI and how you're able to implement AI into and create efficiencies within the companies that you work with.
Mhm. So AI has been incredible for companies, and the ones that are adopting it well are doing some really amazing things with it. I'll say at Flavor Cloud, I've had an incredible opportunity to see a company that really believes and loves AI and how they're changing an industry using it. So everything from AI powered solutions to help in product classification for customs purposes for HS codes, but that I've also seen the application of AI internally really be embraced. And as a marketer, a lot of people talk about using AI for content. A lot of people talk about it for building websites. A lot of people talk about it for just changing the way that you can interact with some of your customers in a more dynamic, personalized way. So there are a lot of ways that you can use it. We've been able to embrace some of the AI technology to create more accurate, better customer experience and to increase the number of things that we can try out there in the market from a messaging and positioning standpoint, and also to better disseminate information.
Now, with so many new AI agents coming out, and they say that every day there's something new with AI. Is that something that you guys have, let's say, a person maybe or a small group of people in a position that is just doing research and trial and error and kind of saying, okay, hey, we found this would work for us to implement, this wouldn't, and help with that, where there's like an expert, let's just say AI expert.
That there's one specific AI expert. I will say both our CTO and CEO are incredibly impressive. Their background, their technical knowledge, they are constantly looking for AI solutions and ways to apply AI. And they've kind of ingrained that all the way across Flavor Cloud to make every single person say, what are the ways that we can use AI in our day-to-day jobs? Because the reality is, if we don't start using it, someone else is going to. It can just make us way more efficient, take away some of those task related items. So honestly, they've challenged everyone in the organization to go on their own learning journey with AI. There's always support from other people across the organization about different
Mhm.
tools. But from a marketing standpoint, they're like, great, go try it. Let's see how we can build different agents to pull back information for us that we can use and integrate into messaging. There are ways that we can translate some of that information into visual output, leveraging AI. And there's
Mhm.
so many
Mhm.
amazing AI content and visualization tools that can just accelerate what you're doing every single day. So they've really challenged each of us to really undertake our own AI journey, test it out, try it out, see what works, see what doesn't work also.
Right,
And
right.
then let's just keep moving forward. It's this continuous improvement concept.
Right. No, no, that's here, right? It's here. It's interesting. We have
Mhm.
to embrace it. I
Yep.
remember the dot-com era when the internet started, and it was like so much information came at us, but this seems like it's even more faster, more, and it's just like hard
Mhm.
to embrace everything. You got to just kind of get some of it, if you can get some pretty good bites out of it, it'll help you somewhere, right?
Yep. I will say that as a marketer, especially because for so long, so many marketers relied on the traffic that your website was generating from Google
Hmm.
organic search or paid search. This is probably one of the most dynamic times ever to be a marketer because some of the more traditional channels are just being turned on their head by AI. So, how do you
Hmm.
get your company ranked from in the LLMs mentioned in there? How do you build the authority? How do you actually start thinking about the paths and the journeys of the way that buyers buy today, unlike they used to before? So it's such an exciting time.
Right.
It's exciting and scary, but there's so
Yeah.
much potential.
Right. It's here. We have to embrace it.
Mhm.
So as we get ready to wrap up, I'm going to ask you what's exciting coming up in the next 6 to 12 months, but you already mentioned one exciting thing of making your move. Are there is there anything else that might come up?
I mean, for me, the biggest thing is transitioning over to Zonar and really diving into that role. I think some of the really exciting things that I'll get to do is, I mean, there's. I'm sorry, Danny. They can edit this, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah,
Okay.
it's all
Yeah.
new, and you're trying to embrace it and figure it out. That's okay.
Yeah.
It's just part of the process here,
Yep. Yeah,
right?
absolutely. So I'm just really excited about going into an interesting industry with a lot of potential growth. I'll have a team that I'm working with that's out of Colombia and South America. So it'll be my first time to travel there, work with that team. I'd love learning about different cultures. So I'm super excited about that.
Very good, and congratulations on that.
Thanks.
And so if somebody who's listening to us and would like to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Just go to LinkedIn and search for me there and send me a message through LinkedIn. It's Rochelle, spelled like Rachel, Trindade, and I should be pretty easy to find on there.
Very good. Well, Rochelle, thank you so much for coming on the show, and congratulations on all your success.
Thanks.
And to our audience, please go to ocpowerplayers.com and follow us on your favorite channel. Thank you,
Thanks.
Rochelle.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Orange County Power Players. Want to share your success story? Apply to be a guest at ocpowerplayers.com/guest.